else on the site. So
yeah, Dan, thanks. And Kat actually just posted the link to the chat. So if you want to go straight to the Tech Madness, the last round, the Final Four page, you can do that. But basically, Tech Madness is an opportunity for kind of the whole tech and entrepreneurial community to come together and help spread the word about different companies that we've got in the ecosystem. And so what we did is we started with 32 companies and seeded them based on sort of their current size, revenue, funding. It's not an exact science. So I know there's some bootstrap companies there that were wondering why they were, a certain seed or whatnot, but we try to pair them up as best we can, put them at 32, and then via social media, push this out and via the newsletter and get companies to vote for each round. And we had some pretty interesting matchups. Here out of the last round, we had MyWorkChoice, right, which is here in the Final Four against Vision, and Dualboot against the Davidson students up at working on the Lucid drone technologies. If you guys have seen that. The C-Trax, which is like a cannabis startup that was running against Stratified, and then went on to go against Catapult, and a couple others. Was it Carewell and Elements brands, which are both sort of in that e-commerce space. And seeing some of these get really close, seeing a lot of activity, and overall 10,000 votes so far for all the companies that we've got here. And now we've got the Final Four. We've got MyWorkChoice up against Dualboot Partners and Catapult up against PetScreening. So really excited to have all four of them here today to talk to us about why they deserve our vote and hear a little bit about what they're doing.
Awesome, Juan. Well, thank you for that. I don't know how I can share screen and zoom in, but hopefully you can all kind of see this. This is the actual bracket that Juan was talking a little bit about. And we're going to go in this order because the first semifinal game is MyWorkChoice versus Dualboot. And then in the other bracket, I'm going to call this how does NBA do it, or the NCAA? This is the north bracket, I think, over here. This is the south. And then Catapult over here, and then PetScreening. So what we're going to have them do is, what I'm saying, founders, 60-second pitch. I'm going to try and time it. I can time it and work the screen and do all that at the same time. So 60-second pitch. And then we're going to do Q&A. So we're going to let people from the audience ask questions. And what I would ask is, keep the question short. Don't go rambling on for a bit. So keep your question, 10 or 15 seconds. And then we'll give each founder, an opportunity to answer for about 60 seconds. I'm going to try and play time comp on all that. So that's kind of the format will work. And the idea is that you're supposed to, look at the people that are most likely to, or most investable in your mind. So.
Yeah, Dan, right. I think there was a request to show people how to vote, and you just have to go on there and vote for whoever is up against Catapult, right? So PetScreening.
So here you go. Yes, you just scroll down.
What?
So you scroll down, you just click here or here, and then here or here, and it will go. And that's all you got to do. So let's do finals. But obviously, wait till you hear the pitches, people. That's the whole point of doing this live, right? Get the actual info.
Hey, everyone. This is Kat real quick. Just a little more background. We ask folks to vote on, it could be who you want to invest in. It could be who you like. It could be who you think is going to be worth the most money. So we want to leave that subjective, and that kind of evens the playing field for everybody in the bracket. To get those votes.
I was wondering how Sun Life Financial got kicked out. That might explain it.
Yes. And I mean, the people who can rally their networks behind them are they crush. We always have, we definitely have some upsets that we've seen in other markets in the past.
And speaking of upsets, let's look at this bracket up here. This is MyWorkChoice, and someone from MyWorkChoice is on, correct? Someone's there.
Yeah, Jason should be here.
Yeah,
all right.
Yeah, it might be. I'm not sure.
All right, fantastic. Well, we'll get you started in just one second. But I did just want to look through the bracket. It's just kind of interesting. For real March Madness bracketologists, right, you got to look at where things came from. So they came from the bracket where the #1 seed was actually Sun Life Financial MyWorkChoice was a 9 seed. I know the seeding was a little subjective, not necessarily meant top to bottom, but a normal bracket, you would look at that. Not a lot of 9 seeds make it to the Final Four. So I think MyWorkChoice might be the Cinderella team here in our version of Tech Madness. And let's look at their path and how they got here. They went against Amissa. I'm not sure I know that company. Then they ended up against Ecos. Ecos, if you don't know, that's a really good company in Charlotte, very popular. Beating them out to get to the Elite Eight, and then taking down Vision, which is Sam Smith's company. Which I gotta admit, I was a little shocked by because Sam knows a lot of people, and a lot of people love Vision Town. So I'm gonna call that an upset. Hopefully that you won't be upset. The folks at MyWorkChoice calling that an upset, but definitely maybe our Davidson like Cinderella team here in the final four. So Jason, I think you're going to speak on behalf, right, on MyWorkChoice?
Is Tana on? Because she was maybe going to be on. So if she was going to jump on.
I
But
don't see her.
Okay. Well,
You're going to be on the spot, so I'm going to give you the floor for 60 seconds, and I'll start timing you when you start talking.
All right, so Cinderella stories, it's really the story of our company as well. We're in the staffing business. We're kind of like in March Madness, we're fighting above our weight class. It's a $70 billion industry where nothing new has come about in a long time. Similar to what Uber did to taxi driving, they made it cool. Why? Because they made the jobs flexible. You could work when you want, where you want, and how much you want. We're doing that to light industrial staffing as well. And we're actually upsetting everybody in our industry right now, taking some of the largest customers away from some of the largest companies in the nation right now, because we allow our workers to choose to build flexible schedules and 4-hour blocks rather than us telling them where to work. So it's changing the paradigm by giving the worker choice. And by doing that, we can create actually a stable long-term workforce for our clients. So that we actually get 95 to 100% fill rates every single day in an era when there were no workers. And now, even with the COVID virus, people need more flexibility. And so other clients are turning to us because they can't get people onboarded virtually via a phone without anybody touching them. And that's what our system does. You can onboard somebody in 24 hours or less.
That's the 1 minute. It's actually 1:10, so I'll give everyone a little extra time. So now, if you have a question, if you go to the participant box, you can raise your hand under the More button. You can see where it goes. You can raise your hand like that. If you can all see me doing that. So if you have a question, raise your hand and I will call on you. Or if you, or it might be a small enough group, you might just be able to ask a question. I'll ask the first one to get us going. So talk about the biggest thing that could derail your company. What's the biggest barrier or that threat to the business?
Well, I think the biggest threat is time and speed. You know, kind of like being the Cinderella story. There's companies that are, have market caps of $20–30 billion. They're large businesses in it. That's a blessing and a curse because they've got money to put behind it, but at the same time, they've got an infrastructure and a cultural mindset that is so different that it's hard to turn that ship. But with that, we need to move fast and continue to gain traction and market share because, over time, they can close that gap.
Got it. Thank you for that answer. It looks like Todd Bulow has figured out how to raise his hand and ask a question. Todd, you're on.
Hey, Jason, I'm just curious. You guys have built an amazing company, but curious, how did you guys get invited to the March Madness? And then how did you hear about this Packard Place event today?
Did you say, Dan, did you say no planted questions? So full disclosure, we have an amazing software development partner, Dualboot Partners, and we're going head to head against Dualboot Partners. So that creates a real conflict of interest. And obviously throw your vote our way because we're the brains behind it. They're just the muscle that's making it, that's making the elegance happen in the technology.
Excellent. Other questions? There's got to be some other good questions out there, people. Come on. What's the ultimate success for the company when you achieve, you've achieved your ultimate success, or what you define as a success? What does that look like?
Well, I think our goal for this year is to really become known as the disruptor in every market that we're in. We're in 9 markets right now. We'll probably be in 15 by the end of the year. So we've really run stealth for the last year. And so now this is kind of our coming out year. And so, as our brand becomes a household name for large warehousing, manufacturing, distribution, 3PL companies, that's when I feel like we'll have arrived. It's amazing how much the conversation has shifted where we were trying to sell people on flexibility in the last 6 months. Now they get it. Now the discussion is about, okay, how do we implement, because we can't find workers has been the story up until 2 weeks ago anyways.
Hey, Jason, one thing I think that's cool about your story, maybe you can talk about kind of how you guys made the switch, because it kind of happened at a time in your company where you were growing, but not rapidly. And then something happened with your systems that they went down. So I think that might be a cool way.
Yeah. So the nothing new under the sun in staffing, and it's a pretty vanilla commodity industry, and customers don't really want to talk to staffing companies because it's considered a commodity. And an epiphany happened about 4 years ago when the time clocks went down at one of our largest customers. This was before we pivoted to kind of putting all our eggs in the new technology basket. And what happened was we actually had to go down there and hand count time cards for one of our larger clients, and they had a payroll of about 1,500 FTEs that we had to run payroll for and get them paid by Friday, and doing it by hand is a real pain. And what they noticed was when we counted them all up for those 1,500 supposed FTEs, there was close to 3,200 time cards in that weekly process. And so what it told us was that even though people were looking for full-time workers, the reality was the worker wasn't working full-time, and that still is the case. And so we looked at that and said, okay, rather than trying to have all these policies and rules in place and then fire people if they're not going to show up, let's not buck the trend in the data. Let's build a system around what the workers are asking for and harness it in a way that's manageable so that we can provide transparency and visibility and consistency to the client, to the manufacturer, to the company.
So I'm going to stop us there because we're at our time. So hopefully you can all see my screen again. And we'll go on to the next company. Jason, thank you very much for that. Appreciate you being here tonight for MyWorkChoice. The next company up is actually going to be Dualboot Partners. So they came out of the South bracket, it looks like here. Let's see their pathway in. They had Passport in their bracket. They had Level in their bracket, some good teams. They were a 20. Is that a 21?
We are shocking the world.
21 seed? Wow, what in the world is going on?
Of course.
Yeah, Juan, who did I want to be on
No 21 seed has ever won.
I want to be on the selection committee next year, Juan. I'm raising my hand to be
Hey, it was actually me. Sorry.
Thank you.
All right. So let's look at their journey in here. They beat ThreatSwitch right off the bat, which, by the way, I'm a small investor in ThreatSwitch, and they're in Packard Place. So that one particularly upset me, Todd, just for the record. So Dualboot Partners, and after Level got knocked out early, Grocery Shopify, and then Lucid Drone Technology to knock out in the Elite 8 to get us here into the Final Four. So that's what that looks like. And then, so Todd, I'm going to give you the floor again for a minute, no slides, then we'll ask questions. So I'll start the timer when you're ready.
Sure. We're I think I know everyone on the call right now, almost everyone. We're a software company that partners with entrepreneurs to help them really take their products from concept to startup to market validation, and then support them further. I think we're known as software companies, but we're also known as pretty good networkers. So I've enjoyed being in Charlotte for 20 years. One of the things I think as Dualboot, we also want to be known as about bringing community together. So we do a lot of things outside of just tech. We've been hosting quarterly events down at the Charlotte Rescue Mission where we get about 30 entrepreneurs down to serve, and then also give back. And then we also enjoy helping, regardless if they're customers or not, helping out other entrepreneurs with our network. So I think that's it. We're a 21 seed, so if you like the underdog. I'm also often a runner-up, so I was runner-up of the, we were runner-up of the community and lost that. In college, I lost in the Final Four too in rugby, so it's been a, you know, kind of the Susan Lucci or whatever, the lady that keeps losing. That's it's been so if you want the pity vote, I also is that it? Am I done?
That's a minute.
I got more to go.
No. That's when the Academy Award music starts coming on in the background. You would feel exactly like Susan Lucci, although I guess she never gets up on stage, does she? Yeah, but going hard for the sympathy vote. Interesting strategy. I like it. You got to try. It's like going to zone defense. You got to try something new. Keep people off guard. If you have questions, either go ahead. I think we're a small enough group you might ask them, or just go to that. If you go to participants at the bottom, and then you go over to more, you can kind of raise your hand like I just did. If you see me over there, so go ahead and raise your hand. Do you have a question? Or you can physically raise your hand maybe, since I can actually see everybody.
Say, Todd, who's
Yes.
more important, the client and the idea, or the technologist behind it? And do you have any other clients that are in the running?
I think I've lost control of this.
Yes.
I think I've lost. Go ahead and answer though.
I think this should be a case study in the power of a network. So if you notice, there's two companies of ours that are in the finals. You've got PetScreening and MyWorkChoice. That I don't know if that was by design or the power of the network. And I learned that at a young age is the network will always beat the product. So, but we do appreciate our customers, and we have very, very fine customers.
So Todd, to clarify, Catapult is the only non-Dualboot affiliated company, right?
Yes, but with Catapult, I actually got Catapult into their e-group at church. So I will take credit for his spiritual side.
Yes.
For those of you who are on the call who are not from Charlotte, Todd is Mr. Charlotte. I don't think there's a person in Charlotte that he does not know. It's quite stunning. Other questions that we have for Todd and Dualboot.
I am representing Bunker Labs today too. If anyone.
Nice, well done. So talk us about what was the biggest challenge to date when you kind of had your biggest, excuse my language, I'll call it your biggest oh shit moment today. Did you have one yet? And what was it?
Probably the one we just got where one of our clients just lost their funding. So that was not a good call we just got. But, you know, it's been a fun ride. I mean, we're up to, we started over 2 years ago. We're up to about 70 people now. But it's definitely a scary time. And it's interesting being in services right now because I see some businesses that are excelling, like MyWorkChoice, is in a great spot right now. Whereas I'm seeing others that have a great business model, but it's going to take 3 to 4 months to get back, and hopefully they can last it out. So it's been a little emotional during this period too. And for those of you who don't know, my wife, we own a company called Bella Tuno, a retail company. She has no sales right now. So it's kind of sucked from that standpoint too in our house. So I'm getting excited because we're closing deals, but then at the same time, my wife is, thinking about, hey, I've got no sales and when am I going to have those coming in? So the entrepreneur world is very interesting. I'll leave you with this one point though. I am a strong believer in Dave Ramsey's debt-free. We have no debt. And so though I'm an entrepreneur and take a lot of risk, I have no debt. So the risks aren't going to put my family in tremendous jeopardy. So I push that hard on a lot of people to be out of debt if you can, which is a complete opposite of an entrepreneur of always taking risks. So.
Go ahead when you're done, Todd. Thank you. Put that title in the Slack channel for everyone so they have it as a reference point. I appreciate you doing that. And Tana, I noticed you joined us. We did your company just a second ago, but I think since you joined us here, we're pretty informal. I think we should give you a chance to say hello. Jason rocked it for the record, but I think you should have a chance to say hello. So take yourself off mute and say hi to everyone.
Hi, everyone. Sorry I was a few minutes late. I'm sure Jason did an unbelievable job, as he always does. We're just really excited because my passion for 32 years is to help people get jobs, and we couldn't be in a better place to help people. So getting the message out that we have flex work and hourly positions that has never existed before is just very exciting. And thanks to Todd and Dualboot, we have an unbelievable product to offer.
There we go. Well, thank you for being here with us too. We appreciate it. And now we're going to move to the other side of the bracket. So those are your two choices on the west side of the bracket. And now we're going to go back and I'll show you the next company, and we'll go to the east side of the bracket. We go back to screen sharing here. All right, so here at the top, this is Catapult we're going to talk about here next. And full disclosure on that one, I do own a little bit of Catapult. They were a QC FinTech company, so full disclosure there, but I'm not going to vote at the moment, so I'm not biased, or at least try not to be biased. They came out of this bracket. It looks like they were a 7 seed. Stratified was I think the top seed here, which I thought was going to go pretty far. If you looked at all the number one, I'll call them the number 1 seeds, Sunlight, Passport, Ternio, and Stratified are well-known companies with lots of funding. Maybe that's how they ended up in the top seed bracket. Expected some of those companies to go farther than they did. Catapult beat out Lotto Edge in the first, and then in the field of 32, beat out Stash Welch, which was surprising because Stash Welch has built a nice following with people here in Charlotte. And then in the Elite 8, having to beat C-Trax to make it into their Final 4 slot. So with that, Justin, the founder, is here. And I'm going to give Justin the floor and give him his 1 minute. So take it away when you're ready.
Awesome. Thank you, everyone. So first off, I'm a Air Force veteran, served in Iraq as well. Through my experience and what we do at Catapult is we automate and streamline requests for proposals. But beyond that, something we just announced on LinkedIn is we also have the pandemic questionnaires as well. So COVID-19 one. We're actually perfectly built and suited for this when you want to evaluate vendors like a Dualboot Partners to make sure that they can continue to support you. If you're a client of theirs, you're going to want to evaluate all the steps through that. Through that process, we support someone who's issuing and someone who's responding. We had one client who just came on who's a Fortune 250. We have provided 66% efficiency gain through their process of responding. In addition to that, we've allowed them to handle 4 times more opportunities and a 90% automation rate. So we do that on both sides alongside content management. In addition to that, we've just been exposed to 165,000 companies with the new partnership we had, bringing on a pretty heavy board member onto our team, and we have 7 new publications going out to 186 million people across 17 industries and 720 plus companies on here. Go ahead.
All right.
Done. I see it.
I got that in. You practiced that once or twice. But thank you, Kenneth, for that.
While everybody else is going.
Yeah, they will have 10 seconds long. So we're an informal group here, right? After how we started the whole call, I can't really create that sense of air formality anymore. It was gone early. And so, all right. So questions for Justin again. If you can, raise your hand or just wave your hand, and we'll dive in with questions. Anyone want to start? Greg Brown, you got to have good questions, and then Juan, you probably have questions. Keith, so I know. So talk about this. Your company was involved. Your family is kind of how you all kind of started it. What's been the biggest challenge of kind of working in what started as a family business and with family members? And has that been net positive, or has that been a challenge?
It's actually been net positive. David's actually introduced us to some connections over at Microsoft and IBM and Forbes. So that's been really beneficial. And some of the existing clients that we have from another product just exposed us to 2,400 new users that we're onboarding right now. So far, so good. Our biggest fights gets handled with rock, paper, scissors. So it's been easy.
Well, there you go. It looks like Tom has a question, so I'm going to recognize Tom. You want to take yourself off mute? Go ahead and ask your question.
Hey, Justin. I've got a couple people back in South Florida that are in a similar field as you. Are you focused mainly on private sector, government, RFP, combination of both? If it is a combination, what's the ratio look like?
So we are actually in every industry right now. We have 17 that we're firmly in across the globe. Government's about 15% of our business right now. So I was actually just invited out to meet with the top 50 government firms back at the end of February in DC. So we had 4 of them come on, including Raytheon and NASA, are probably the 2 biggest names that came on. So, but every industry, more in the financial services sector though. just due to relationships and network.
Looking for other people raising their hand or waving me down on questions. I'm going to throw out another one then to you. I asked as to one of the earlier companies' biggest challenge when you look at your threats. What's the biggest thing that? Oh, Eric has a question. So I'm going to go with Eric's. Eric, why don't you go ahead and unmute and ask your question? Actually, I can unmute you. So go ahead.
There we go. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah. How do you handle all the questions that would come around security of the information going in the different directions?
So right now we don't actually have to ask any questions. So every one of our users are the ones that are issuing out and asking. From a sense of automation, we don't have AI built in to have to worry about, you know, the amount of data or the different types of sets of data or way questions are being asked too much, that it impacts us. I don't know if that really answers the question you have. I'm sorry for the screaming kid, but that doesn't really impact us right now. But we do have hundreds going out right now.
Can't even hear the screaming kid in the background. You're golden.
Oh, perfect.
I guess
Scream loud.
maybe a little more specific. I mean, if you're dealing with some government stuff, you run into ITAR, et cetera, and all the data, you know, has to be secure, protected. Have you run into those issues?
Yeah, we have. So we actually use Google Cloud, and Google came alongside us and helped us through that process. We've also teamed up with 2 companies that have already gone through that process with a lot of government agencies. So from that standpoint, it was pretty, I wouldn't say seamless. It just, the obstacle wasn't as large and substantial when we actually went through the validation process, especially from a scope review. They did, one company was, 3 days, it was like 27 straight hours of review on us. And we passed with flying colors, thankfully. But yeah, it was pretty scrutinous.
Awesome. Any last questions for Justin? We have the list. I'll wrap up with that question I was going to ask, that, which is biggest challenge on the SWOT analysis. What's the biggest threat of the business?
Right now, I would say marketing is going to be the biggest threat. Anyone else out there that's getting material out there is going to have a leap ahead. Right now, what's been really beneficial for us from a marketing standpoint is we've been winning big with bigger companies, and a lot of smaller companies follow what they're doing. So they've been doing the marketing for us, which has been really great. But that's probably our biggest disadvantage right now. All
right, we will stop you there, Justin. Thank you very much for that.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Thanks, everyone.
And I think we're now getting in the flow of this. So I'm going to go back to kind of talk about our final person in our final 4. There we go, which is PetScreening. So let's see where PetScreening came from. It's probably the company, y'all, which is great. I'm excited about this because unfortunately I probably know the least about. So it'll be great to get to know a little bit more about their company. Where did they come from? There they are, number 14 in the bracket. But Turnio was up there. Some other interesting companies, Honeyfi. I'm actually surprised in the first round matchup. I know a lot of people know Rami, and so I expected Honeyfi to put up more of a fight, but I think they folded Rami folded like a cheap suit, and PetScreening moved on quickly out of the first round. Then we had some other interesting ones. UBAC is a good company. Elements. Brands that was up here. It looks like Turnio, you took out the number 1 seed in the next round, and then came up against Carewell. I'm actually surprised Elements brand didn't move forward a little bit there. And so the final 8 matchup, leaving PetScreen in the final 4 in our, I don't know, I guess this is the South bracket normally, and up against Catapult. So I'm not sure who. I think we have a couple people on, so I'm not sure who's going to talk from PetScreening, but I will turn the floor over to you guys. Take it away.
Yeah, hey, this is David Stunny. I'm COO, but I was able to, through coronavirus, wrangle down John Bradford, who's founder of the company. So I'll turn it over to John to give you guys a spiel and answer any questions.
You bet. Hey, everybody. So there's 45 million rentals in the United States alone. And Americans, we love pets. And what we do is we collect data on pets and their owners, and we analyze that data and we issue a FIDO score. And everyone knows what a FICO score when it comes to credit. We give a FIDO score. We like to say that not all pit bulls are dangerous, although usually pit bulls and Doberman pinschers get a bad rap. So our data shows property managers that you still can rent to responsible pet owners who might have those types of dogs. A couple of years ago, you might have heard about the peacock trying to get on an airplane. So there's a lot of people faking assistance animals in housing. And they do that because animals cannot be charged pet rent. The industry is losing big money. So what we do is we are a pioneer, and we have a process that makes sure that every animal request, which is called an accommodation request under the Fair Housing Act, that it actually meets the guidelines of the Act. And we're stopping 60% of those requests, which means property managers are able to convert those to pets, which means they can charge pet revenue. You ought to vote for PetScreening because you're voting for pets. Who doesn't love furry pets?
All right, there we go. Well done. Yeah, so we got it's interesting 4 different strategies there. We got someone going for the mercy vote, someone going for the pet vote. We got some interesting stuff going on. And thank you for being here tonight. We do really appreciate it. All right, so go ahead and raise your hand with that little raise hand functionality so I can see who's got questions. But I might ask the question to you just to get started. Where did the idea come from? What popped it into your head?
Yeah, so I actually come from the world of property management, and I actually own a company. I still own it today. I don't run it, where we manage about 1,600 rental properties for professional investors. These are single family houses. And so I'm very familiar with tenants. There's an old saying, tenants are liars. And so everyone wants to say they don't have a pet, but maybe they really do have a pet, or they say they have a poodle when maybe they have a Rottweiler. And so I said, there's got to be a better way. And then I also served in the North Carolina House of Representatives, and I was the lawmaker for all tenant landlord law. And a lot of issues kept coming to my desk regarding frustrations around service animals, people faking them when, I mean, don't get me wrong, there are people who need these animals who have legitimate disabilities, but there's a fair number of people who just throw a vest on it and show a certificate and just try to take it everywhere. And that really is impacting a lot of people, airline industry being one of them, housing being another one. So I had this idea to just come up with a product to help navigate the complexities of it. We're a free service, by the way. We're completely free to property managers. We're a B2B2C service. So property managers have no reason not to sign up with us. And I think that's been a huge part of our success. We're a pioneer. No one else is out there like us. So we're just trying to run hard and run fast.
All right. Thank you for answering that one. Let's see if we have some other questions from the audience.
Sure.
Want to wave a hand, raise a hand digitally?
Based on that, can you talk about how you're generating cash then, how you drive revenue?
Yeah, sure. So so it's a B2B2C company. So the C is really the resident. And if a resident is applying for an apartment and they have a pet, we charge an application fee for their pet. But we didn't want this to be punitive because we love pets at PetScreening. So we built a product where once they go through our process, they basically have a digital profile on their pet that they can share with their doggy daycares, dog groomers, campgrounds, vacation landlords. So it's portable. So once they have this digital passport, if you will, of their pet, then they can use it over and over and over. But we charge them a nominal fee, $20 for 1 year. We truly make our money $20 at a time.
Yep. And it looks like Rob Cummings has a question. So Rob, I've unmuted you. Why don't you go ahead?
Yeah, sorry, that was my question. So
what?
Yeah, how do you make money?
There you go. All right.
So the one thing, hey, sorry,
Way to go.
Dan, the one thing I'll add on that is kind of our long-term revenue stream, that sort of play would shift less from kind of application fees and more to like a data component. So there are millions and millions and millions of pets and rentals. So, and we may know through our data where people are moving, people being pet owners. And so through our data, we'll be able to do cooler things like vet referrals or pet health insurance if we know you don't have pet health insurance, any sort of groomers or any of those dog walkers. So if you're moving to Charlotte, use Skipper, right? So some of those kind of data components and using kind of millions of data points, big data in the long term to really kind of flip the revenue model on its head to be free, but then more of a data network of pet benefits to pet owners.
Yeah, like Equifax for pets. People can report pet incidents. If you have a dog bite on site, you catch a dog not on a leash, if you have a cat that urinated a unit, you can report property damage. These incidents follow the pet owners and the pets forever. So now pet owners can be held more accountable. And if they're great pet owners, well, that'll help bring down their pet rent. So there's also a positive effect for good pet owners.
Yeah, well, I need to use a rating system. We made Packard Place pet friendly, so I probably need to get on your system so I can check out pet users before they bring their dogs to Packard Place. Let's wrap up there in terms of the Q&A, which is great. Thank you to all 4 of them. How about we give them the the digital air round of applause, everybody, right? Good job. And thank you for coming to present with us all tonight. I think it helps make us more informed judges and voters, and allows us to participate in a little March Madness still. Juan, I might, or Kat, either one, turn it back over to you for a second if you want to have any closing comments on that. I do know that you can vote daily because I've been keeping the tab open, and I pretty much go to Charlotte Inno every day anyways, but I have the opportunity to go back and vote. Anything else that you all want to mention about a Tech Madness?
Yeah, voting for the Final Four ends tomorrow night. So you're going to want to get those votes in.
There it is,
now.
1 hour, 5 minutes, right there.
There you go.
No, you even see the coveted championship slot right after that. Okay.
Hey, also, I wanted to throw in there, you can go at the top there and click back and view the bracket from the beginning. So the whole reason that we do this is to really provide a resource for the community and show, you know, really interesting and fast growing companies in the region that everyone needs to pay attention to. So go back to round 1 and look at all 32 folks in the bracket, and make sure you spend some time checking out who they are.
And now you have all the information to go vote, which is great. And then, so I'll stop screen sharing on that. That's really kind of what we wanted to do for tonight. And then the rest of the time we can keep for a little bit. I think people may have to run here in a minute too, but continue socializing. I know I'm going to move on from after our interesting and colorful Packard Place Public House. I'm probably going to move on from beer onto hard liquor right after we get off the call. So I thought it'd be bad to bring the 5th. And yeah, thank you very much. And for those of you who joined late, they have no idea what I'm talking about, ask someone who was on early, and they'll be happy to tell you all about it.
Man, what happened to being dry for the first quarter? Wasn't that a thing at one point?
It went out the window with coronavirus. Yes, but that's okay. And actually tonight was just water in the cup. But I did start drinking. I'm still doing my weight loss thing. For those of you,
all resolutions are off because of COVID?
You better believe it. Yeah.
Seems fair.
Yeah, for those of you that joined after we kind of did the social part early on, maybe we can go back around. Angel, tell everyone kind of how are you doing? What kind of resources you're finding? What are you finding particularly useful? I know you mentor a ton of people. What kind of themes are you hearing?
Yeah, it's it's pretty much I think what you'd expect. I have a newsletter going out tomorrow and start off with it's what everybody's saying: prepare for the worst, hope